So wonderful. Good morning, dear LinkedIn community, investor community, and aerospace enthusiasts. We are going to talk today about the assets in the aerospace industry, how to finance them, and how to have more fun. For this purpose, I have with me Norbert Werle. Norbert, you know already from our coverage of Aero Friedrichshafen 2025. Welcome, Norbert, to our show.
Thanks. Hello, Ilkay.
For those that are seeing Norbert right now on their own feed, so what we are doing right now is we are streaming live on my personal account on LinkedIn, plus in parallel on Norbert's account. So I'm greeting also, of course, Norbert's community here right now. And on the right that I'm seeing, it may be on the left on your screen, depending on whether it's mirroring or not. We have David Galkin, and he's the managing director, owner of the Aviation Investor Club. So I'm meeting David today the first time. Norbert has strongly and warmly recommended David to take him on board, and we're happy to do that because they have already carried out a meeting in Zurich, and now there are two more following up in Sylt, that's an island in Germany, and in Frankfurt, which you probably already know. So thank you, David, for being part of our show.
Thank you very much, Ilke.
So, dear community, this is a LinkedIn Live, and just a few words about this LinkedIn Live. So, LinkedIn Live is a very interactive community form. Interactive means there is a chat box below our live stream picture. So please use that checkbox now and write down from where are you tuning in today, and what is your interest in aviation, and of course, please ask your questions to Norbert and David, and give us your comments while you are watching this live stream. For all our viewers that are listening to this live stream on the podcast or on YouTube later on, you're also, of course, welcome to leave your comments in the comments section. So, Norbert, let's start with you. Let's dive directly into this. Now we see your name is Norbert Werle. You are aus Berlin, and you have this nice jet circle. Explain us what is the jet circle for those who have not seen our coverage on Friedrichshafen 2025 yet.
Yeah, hello. So the Jet Circle is gathering a community of private jet users, so company owners or investors or family offices that are frequently flying, so at least 4 or 5 times a year, using private aviation to save time and to come to the destination where they need to go as fast as possible. And this community is really talking about what are the possibilities in private aviation, and the unique feature is really the possibility to share also flights, which hasn't been on the market ever before. So really sharing flights between company owners and maybe sitting beside a DAX CEO then and flying to Sylt Island is the opportunity that our members have.
I'm just checking our LinkedIn stream right now. So it says we are live at this moment. There is a short delay, I guess, on the live stream. So please, community, when you have a chance, have a look at our stream and leave your comments from where you are tuning in. So, Norbert, you've mentioned this jet circle, but there are many different kinds of circles, let's call it, or chartering rather. So, how is this different from Warren Buffett's NetJet, for example?
Well, there are different possibilities. Of course, there are chartering possibilities on the market, but also there is the companies like the well-known NetJets that is owned by Warren Buffett, and also FlexJet and WizZet. And those are partially jet cards that you can purchase, or even shares in a whole jet. So you can have a jet share like 1/8, 1/4, or a 1/16 of a share, of the jet, or you can buy a jet card. The issue is it starts at around $250,000. So you really need to invest for 25 hours, almost $250,000, 250,000 euros to be part of this possibilities to fly with those jets. Of course, you have then anytime access to those jets, and within 48 hours notice, the jet is standing at your airfield and brings you wherever you need to go. But this is really an old-fashioned style of pre-buying some hours, because now in the modern times, people are really quickly chartering airplanes, going to brokers and having a question on how can they fly most easily from A to B. And we did this already in like 3 hours. A client from us asked us in Zurich at 12:30 and asked, hey, can I get to Slovakia? And at 4 o'clock, he was taking off in Zurich and flying to Slovakia. So you can really get this availability much, much faster, and you don't need to pay such huge amounts in such jets, shared ownership jet card systems like NetJets and so on that are on the market plentiful since the 80s.
So it's a clear differentiation factor that you are quoting there. And we're talking here, of course, money, and that's, of course, a good opportunity now to get David into the picture. And David, let me ask you, how is what gap did you realize that you had to found and you were encouraged to found the Aviation Investor Club?
Okay, so I've been to several sorts of, let's say, meetings and associations and clubs and that before. And one of the reasons why, basically, why I started it was that I never got to the people that I want to speak to. So when it comes to like the people that I want to speak to was like other investors is one thing. I want to speak to people that were, talking about like the same subjects that I wanted to talk about. And so when it comes to going to an event, usually you have to have an agenda of the people you want to speak to. Like you want to go there and you come away with like a bunch of business cards, but who do you follow up with? That everyone's supposed to be a great contact, blah, 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 but doesn't really go anywhere. And so the Aviation Investor Club was what I wanted to do, was to reach investors, because that's what I wanted to primarily get to. And the second one is that I wanted to actually, not be sold. But when I go to an event, I don't want people to come to me and say, buy this, buy this, buy this. They want stuff from me. I want to be on my agenda to go to those. So that's what I basically went to and seeing if it would be working. So that's the main criteria why I started the Aviation Investor Club, was that I wanted to reach the people that I wanted to actually meet to. And it wasn't a unique feeling. Others wanted to do the same. It's like, that's the reason why they're going to the events. And so these other events, they're massive, they're all over the world and blah, blah, blah happening. But when they do like go to those events, they come away without getting the value that they really want. Yes, they're being nice and they're being polite and everyone's, promoting what their business is about, but that's not what investors are going there for. They're looking for, they know what they want, but they actually want to connect with other peers. And that's basically what why I developed what I want to go forward with and develop the Aviation Investor Club. And it's specifically for high net worth individuals and for sophisticated investors, because they're quite unique and niche to what they want to actually get to. And so, it could be they go to an event and they're just fed up of people just coming to them wanting stuff. And I've been there before. You put investor on your badge and all of a sudden you get everyone coming to you, which sounds great for the ego, but does it hit what I want to do? Does it hit what I actually want to get out of an event? The value that I bring? And that's basically where it came from. So it wasn't just my need. I made it for community, exactly for people like me.
David, let me ask you a follow-up question then, because I'm also not so iterate now on the investment side of things and investors. Can you describe me or classify the investors? What are their needs? Let's put it bluntly. What are the functional needs of an investor and what are the emotional needs of an investor?
Okay, I'll start on the emotional needs because that's the easiest one. Basically, when you're an investor, let's say you're going to be a family office, which I'm hopefully going to be by the end of the year, or you want to be some sort of sophisticated investor, it's going to be like something a little bit different. So you want to be able to get into it a business where you're not making any loss. It's all about risk and risk mitigation. So, like at the moment, I'm renovating my office, for those sort of things at the moment to do the renovation here. But what I want to do is I want to choose a builder. I want to choose the people that do the renovation. I want them to do it so I'm not losing any money. So who can I get to do the products? Who can I get to do the renovation? Who's going to give me a good quote? So any investment you go to, whether it's in a business or whether you want to buy a car, you want to make sure you're not getting robbed. And so when it comes to like the mentality of an investor, they want to actually go in with the knowledge that they can get and gather around them, but they don't want to lose. And now when it comes to lose, it's not necessarily 100% of their investment. So if, let's say I've wanted to invest in a stock on the internet or a stock on the stock market, for example, right? I'm investing in that stock, but is my loss break even or is it a total loss? Or would it actually be in the mindset of an investor? I was promised 10% and I didn't get that 10%. So my loss is actually anything less than 10% of what I put in. And so that's the mentality of the people that come to my group, is that they want to be able to talk with peers, that they're able to actually get along and talk about deals in the correct context, rather than just saying, sweet talking in their ear to actually get into a deal. They want to get to the nitty gritty about, is this deal actually worthwhile? What's the longevity? Because a lot of the people in my club are family offices, which means it's got to be multi-generational health. Wealth that goes through it. And so as the wealth starts going, it's not just for their generation at the moment, it's going to be for their, for the next generation, the younger generation, and what their needs and concerns could be. The next part of it is like, what sort of demographic, where would they have been typically? Most of our demographic at the moment is around the family office side of things, or they've been in business and they've had an exit. Like I had my own exit in 2015, and so that was good, but I wasn't prepared for that exit though. So my own personal story is that I had my exit. I had a lot of money at the time, but then I completely just wasted it. I spent it on basically on rubbish, and I went lower than what I started off with. So it was a complete disaster. It was one of the best points in my life, but also the worst points in my life. And having people around me that I could speak to and get good advices. That's why the Aviation Investor Club's there. It's a mastermind. It's a brain trust of people that have been there. They've done it without them trying to say, "I want something from you. I want something from you." If that answers your question.
Yes, perfect. That's perfect. So, what was your learning then from your overly excessive spending?
Basically, I thought I knew everything. Like, for example, I was in a startup at the time, and I made it like really well, and we had an exit. It was like everything was there, and my head just got super inflated. It was as if I knew everything. I was like God's gift to everybody, sort of thing. And I basically wasn't used to it. I became a complete, as they say, like complete stupid in the head and going, and I was obnoxious and stuff. And at that time, it was my grandmother. She was alive. She spoke to me and said, "No, that's not how we brought you up. That's not who you are. So buck your ideas up," basically. And I was becoming horrible to people. I almost, my marriage wasn't going for a good spot at the time, and it was caused because of me. I was the reason. I was the toxic element, because it just gone to my head. I thought I was, the macho guy, and had all the money and blah blah blah, spending it like water, like I didn't care. And I wasn't prepared for the success I had got. I'd spent so long and so much energy trying to get to that spot, that spot in my life, that I forgot that actually it was the people that helped me get there were the most important parts of my life at that point. And so it was a complete. I had to learn that session myself. It was something that if somebody had told me, I wouldn't have listened. To be honest, I really wouldn't have listened. It's like you read all the books and they're saying, "I'll be in this," but it's something that I had to experience myself. And so I went to the highest of highs, and I went down as fast as you can imagine, like a stone. And having people around me that was like, "I'll support," nobody was like it's shunning me away. It's just that it was my own personal psychology that I was in the depth of, everything happened, those sort of things happening. So it wasn't so good at the time. Yeah, but my lessons learned was that it's about the community. And it's about access is everything. And that's like my slogan that I try to promote, is access to the groups, access to people, access to knowledge, access to people's experiences. And that's why the Aviation Investor Club, as being a group of like-minded, experiential, peers, that's where the value really comes from. So you could be having a conversation with a billionaire. It could be, sovereign wealth fund. It could be somebody who's got a family office, but their experience and takeaway is not just about their money, because that's not the motivation of talking to them. The motivation of talking to them is their experience of how they got to where they were, and what advice can they give you, or can you give them? Because everybody's in a different position. You don't know what happened in their morning, for example. There's been a disaster. And so it's about getting to know that relationship and relationship building.
Mm-hmm. David, very strong reflection here. Before I move on to Norbert, your Aviation Investor Club. So you're based in the UK, Do you have subsidiaries, or is it emerging now? You founded this company, growing, scaling. How is the projection for the next years for your club?
Yeah, so the Aviation Investor Club actually has had a really fantastic growth trajectory. So I have assistants with me in America, in Chicago. So I have assistants with me in London, because obviously I'm not based in London, I'm based in Devon, so it's a little bit further away from London. I have assistants with me in Dubai, and that's / to go with Saudi Arabia there, and also have one in Japan. So we do have, some sort of global sort of scale of things. And even though I'm based in the UK, it's not specifically about UK aviation. In the very beginning, though, it was about UK aviation. I thought, thinking a little bit, how can I get this started? How can I get it going? And that's where I got to. However, as I sort of discovered that people inside the UK were a little bit, they weren't ambitious enough, let's say. So as I started bringing in people from the US, from different markets, from France, from Germany, from Switzerland, stuff, the concept and the actual innovation from the group started expanding drastically, like in a really big way. And that's where the value, the mastermind comes from, because you can be the best guy in your local network and your local group. But when you start getting somebody from the outside coming in, that's where a whole new dynamic comes from, whole new ideas. And I'm an advocate for advisory boards. And the advisory boards that I create are basically with other companies. They're basically from all over the world. And the reason I tell people to do that is because you're getting that free intelligence, that market intelligence from those different areas you wouldn't necessarily get to. Like, for example, in the UK, we use the BBC quite a lot. But the BBC, in a sense, can be also quite biased. So you only get the access to the lens of what the world's happening through the BBC's eyes. And if that's not where you're aligned, you're missing out the whole 99% of what everyone else is doing. And so having these sort of accesses is what it's about, by trying to have a global presence. But when it comes to like the Aviation Investor Club as a whole, even though it's registered in the UK as being part of Station Hill Provincial as actually a trade name, it's also not just restricted to the UK. It's global in its sort of inception. And we actually have events that are happening all over the world. We've had it in Zurich already, like you mentioned, in Dusseldorf. We've got it now coming up in Frankfurt and then in Salt. We've got a next one after that's going to happen in London. Then we have 3 events in the United States, one on the East, one Central, one West Coast. And then after that, it's going to be either in Dubai or Saudi Arabia. And after that, we're going to finish off the year in Japan. So we do have quite a big sort of plan going forward. And in the mean of like doing between those major events, there's going to be ad hoc, let's say, relationship building events, such as like a barbecue in Monaco, for example. And that's where we believe, or where I believe, and the group that are around with me, we believe that this mentoring or this cooperation between the members to actually get on the relationship side of things, because deals are made between people, they're not made between companies. So if you want to actually talk to somebody, get to know what it's about, what somebody's about, you want to get to know them on a personal level. And some of the people, even though they're online and doing all their, the warrior, keyboard warrior stuff and marketing on this, reality is people, when they get higher in society, they're not so prevalent on the internet, because if they say a wrong word or misinterpreted, it can affect their social standing. Standing in the, so they try and be quite quiet. So, but when they trust you, you get the real sort of who they are, etc. So what they say in behind closed doors, and all of our events are using Chatham House rules. And Chatham House, if you don't know what that means that what's said in the room stays in the room. It's a little bit like when they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But that was a marketing thing for I think it's for cement or something back in Vegas. But in our sort of community, it means that what's said in the room stays in the room. So you can actually have a little bit of confidence that you can give your genuine true self, who you are, and that builds a relationship that we're hoping will create deals and deal flow and going forward into the future.
Fantastic. So you are covering basically different time zones. How did you select these places? Can I assume that these places that you selected around the globe, do they have a high demand on general aviation, or is it just pragmatic decisions that you took, like Dubai being a central place for trade?
Okay, good question. So as we know, aviation goes where we want to. It flies. So there's no specific about this is going to be the aviation center to get to those, because they're very well covered by other, professionals and those sort of things. So the reason why it was done in those particular regions was because of time zones. So when somebody's sleeping, somebody else can be awake. And it also supports those, let's say, capitals where capital is flowing into, because it's about capital markets. Where's the money? And so if you go to the US, big, massive country, biggest demand, they've got the most amount of aviation, that's going around for private aviation, civilization in the world. It is the aviation capital of the world, you could say. And so in that area, US, it's a natural, it's a given to where to go there. Where to go doesn't really matter, because you can travel in, where's in the beef and those. When it comes to Europe, London, it could have easily been in, say somewhere in Germany. So for London, because I happen to be in the UK, that's why it was chosen over there. But also because GMT, it's quite central for Europe and also for Africa to go to those. When it goes to Dubai, it's a hub at the moment for financial sort of sides of things as well. And then for Japan, because I had a contact there, it could have been also Singapore, but instead we went to Japan because we thought it was a little bit more. And also the Japanese market is a little bit closed, you could say, to an extent, that it's not very well penetrated. And to have business in Japan, typically you have to go there. It's not like something you can do remotely. So we think that could be a good opportunity for us. But obviously, this is where we are at the moment. I could always, this is where our people are basically like resonating from. But it doesn't mean our events have to be in those locations, just our, as we start going at the moment.
Mm-hmm. But David, doesn't that pose a cultural challenge for you? I mean, having Japan, the Middle East, North America, you as a British, how do you cope with the cultural part of the things? Or an alternative explanation may be that in the investment world, culture doesn't play a role, which I don't think.
Yeah, it's good. It depends. Culture is on different levels, like for example, respect and those sort of things. But when you get to a certain level, the culture doesn't really play in it, because the people that we're talking to, they're already well traveled. It's not like they've never gone anywhere before. If you're ultra high net worth, you're a family office, you know how to travel. You're using aviation a lot just as part of your work. Aviation as a tool. So you're not using it because, you get those people that are on TikTok, they're taking photos and stuff like that about them saying, oh, I'm an airplane. You'll never get that with an ultra high net worth or sophisticated investor. It's like, this is like a taxi to me. I need to get from A to B as safe as I can, as quickly as I can, without big fuss. I need, the reason I'm going with private is because I want to be able to go to an airport, which is like a private FBO or something, go to those. I want 30 minutes to be stuck at the airport, go through security, get to my flight. I want to get to where I want to go to as soon quick as I can, prepare on the flight I want to do, have some food, what I need to get done, and then off to my meeting, because that's the important part of my day, is the meeting and the results from that. Come back and I'm back home in my bed within the couple of hours sort of thing. That's the sort of thing happening. Whereas, if you think from a cultural side of things, it doesn't really come into that. Whether you're a German, which the traditionally is like being very direct and strict, but I know plenty of Germans that are not like that. They're just not, they're very quiet. They're very, they happen on the fly. They're just sort of going out. They're a little bit more like somebody from Denmark or something, or from the Netherlands. And then you got the Americans that are usually quite brash and quite, forget. But I know lots of Americans that are very quiet. They're very direct. They're more German than Germans in that sense. And I know exactly people that they just want to start drinking and they just want to party all the time, and they're not very, they just want to go there. So I think that when you get to a certain level, and the world as a whole is not becoming these stigmatized sort of let's say these images that you could imagine in your mind. It's not like that anymore. I don't believe. Obviously, you have to be respectful of people, but it's not like in a specific area that it's like oh, they're from there, have to be very difficult. It's not like that. People appreciate. They want to make money. They've got the same needs. They want to have safety. They want to look after their family. They don't want to lose anything. These are same norms everywhere in the world.
Yeah. I absolutely agree and aligned with what you're saying. My background is B2B, textile manufacturing, composites, and we have to deal a lot with standards, with norms. And like you say, the aviation, the needs to fly and to save time, maybe in comfort and increase the efficiency of the workload, flattens the cultural needs a little out, but still you have to, of course, understand there are some personal traits within these cultures to deal with. So very well done. Thanks, David, for these first introductory words. We will come back to your events in a minute. Let me get Norbert now one more time into the picture, because Norbert has a vision, and this is what brought me together with Norbert. And the vision is very far-reaching, Norbert, right? I would like to take this footage that we had prepared a long time ago. So I need to find it in the library. Okay, here it is. So guys, look at this.
A
So this
fully
is
electric airplane.
this is a fully electric airplane, and you can see, by the way, this airplane also on top of Norbert's head on the poster on the wall. So Norbert, you have a larger vision of private jets in the future. What we are talking right now is what's going on right now, what's happening right now, but you have a much more far-reaching, longer term vision. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you see it even now that we are live here beneath my LinkedIn Live post. There is Jürgen Baumann just mentioning the hashtag stop burning stuff. And yes, he is fully right. And that's the vision behind it. There is aviation today that is burning stuff. It's burning kerosene. And this aviation is not changing much. It's starting to change, but this is really the vision behind what I'm doing since 2017 with my company Air2E. And we already purchased such electric airplanes like here on the picture above. So why this at all? Well, there is, it comes from my past. My father was always going with me to model airfields, to air shows and so on, but he also went with me a lot to the nature. He was a ranger and a nature protection guy. And to combine both, I started my business in wind energy and was selling 18 years wind turbines and tried to get renewable energy into the aviation world. How to do that? Well, you can produce with the wind turbines those sustainable aviation fuels, but that's costly and costs especially a lot of renewable energy, which could be used much better to power our computers here right now for this stream. Or you can really go and change aviation towards electric aviation. And this will happen in the near future. There are developments, there are several manufacturers developing such airplanes. And we already decided in 2021 to purchase the eFlyer 800 as a future 8-seat airplane fully electric. So we want to really push this forward, but it all takes tremendous amounts of times in aviation. So therefore, how do we get aviation already in the time between? And I'm selling private jet flights. Everybody is aware private jets are not the most CO2 efficient form of transportation. But there are lots of advantages that are associated with it. And many people want to use this aviation because it's a hassle to use their other forms of transportation. So sharing such a asset and having it more efficiently used, that's the principle behind the Jet Circle. And that's really the mission behind overall what we are doing here, to combine the Jet Circle with the aviation investor clubs to approach the people that are constantly using such forms of aviation, investing in it, and being able to change it as quickly as possible towards a more sustainable form of transportation.
So for our community now, Norbert, then please explain us. Now you are the aviation expert. You have this Jet Circle, which has this tremendous benefit of sharing, getting people from A to B on a flexible manner. Then we got David today in our round, who is more an investment scene. He has found a company that nicely circumvents the whole or covers the whole world in the different time zones. So how does this intersect in light of high networking or high value networking? How do you do you get this both worlds intersected?
Well, we saw that nicely in Zurich. In Zurich, we had several family office people, we had several operators of private jets, we had investors, and we had members of the both clubs, so the Jet Circle and the Aviation Investor Club joining there. And we talked about how can you invest now in private aviation and get significant benefits, something like above 100% IRR or ROI, better to say, is possible with those investments. And David can tell a little bit more about this, how we are approaching this in the future. But it's really a super interchange that is coming there, because people that are flying private don't fly private because of the comfort. They fly usually private because of the time efficiency, and they need to get quickly to make the next deal and to be more efficient in their work, to earn more money, to earn bigger businesses, to develop their businesses. And that's what we do here, intersect with the Aviation Investor Club, to really get those powers joining and have meaningful events which are not only focused on sharing flights and sharing and saving time, but also investing the money sensible.
Mm-hmm. So, David, now we've heard many times about these very efficient events that you are conducting. The last one here in Zurich. Tell us about who invented these events, whose initiative was this, and what was the learning out of the first event in Zurich or the last event in Zurich?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to say that it's actually a brainchild of myself and Norbert. We created it together. So it wasn't one of our individual things. I think it was a creation together. It wouldn't have succeeded if we hadn't done it together. So I obviously, giving praise where it's due, I think that I wouldn't be, growing it as well as I did if it hadn't been for Norbert. And I'm sure that, he would reciprocate, for my sort of side. So I think we've come well together in that sort of sense. It was a very good marriage of convenience, you could say, and very good marriage of skill sets that we had. It was very well matched. So I do appreciate Norbert being part of actually making this go forward. And so how do we want to go, or should I say, how did we come up with the idea? So one of them was that we wanted to have this sort of like feeder solution into my club of like investors that could, were they qualified, etc. Where do I find these types of people? Obviously, I've got my country club that I go to, but that's only my own small circle. I've got my people that I go to, when I go to events, I can go to those sort of guys. But it's not the same. Whereas Norbert, he has access to some of those people already as part of his club, because obviously they want to reduce their costs of flying. It's more utilitarian, etc. And so it was a natural sort of let's say like matching that his customer base and my customer base were the same. We just approached it from different angles. And then as the events go forward, where did that methodology came from? So historically, I've done things like Toastmaster before. I've done a lot of events myself before. And I wanted to be more of a mastermind format where we can actually have participation as being the key. And the reason that came around is that you can imagine if you was Elon Musk, or if you was, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, or somebody, of that ilk sort of thing, how do they get their information? Where do they go? Because obviously everyone puts them on a pedestal saying they know all this information already. They're the titans of their industry. But where do they get their information from? Where are their confidence coming from? And that's where we wanted to invent that, or create what we want to do. We want to be a safe place where they're not the main event. They're there to get information from other people within their peer sort of network. How are they able to actually develop themselves? Because they still want to develop themselves. They're not at their pinnacle where they are at the moment. They want to try and get better at what they're doing, because everybody's got them as being number one. They've got a bullseye on their on their chest. Everyone's after them. So how can they keep to be number one? So they have to know, where's the industry going, what's the local gossips, what sort of issues to avoid. And that's why I believe me and Norbert, we've created something which is that environment. And what we saw in Dubendorf is that people, they wanted to try and get their introductions, they want to get across, but they also want to have a lot of networking time and not being sold to. we had people coming to us saying they don't want to go to an event where they're being sold. That's not what they're interested in. And so they give a lot of us a little bit of, let's say, breadth and leeway of what they wanted to expect. And they were pleasantly surprised that we gave everybody enough time. It was new topics. It was genuine. It was, literally speaking as if we all had the same goal and purpose. And that's what we've created between us. And I do believe, obviously I'll let Norbert speak as well, but I do believe this is what, is what we've accomplished together rather than just being one person's idea and stuff. So I do appreciate Norbert for his involvement in that.
Norbert?
You're on mute.
Please unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, it was really the combination that was nicely fitting because, if you are already flying privately, then you are already successful with your company. And that also brings the benefit on the burden of how do I invest my money smartly. And family offices have really optimize that to the max. Usually they are putting their money into some kind of investment and then it is never touched anymore. And all the benefit that is coming out of it is just from the interest that is this investment producing. And since this is then what is very interesting for our people that are chartering and private jets. It is a perfect match between the two worlds and gives them more interest and more benefit, more topics to talk about, more interesting surrounding around our events than just showing them the most modern citation jet or just talking about what new jet cards are there on the market. It's very narrow field if you are only talking about the flying, but if you are taking the whole picture, the whole investment cycle of private jets and also of other investments, then it gets extremely interesting for those people, and they are really happy to spend their time together with us, together with our special guests. And maybe that's a good transfer then as well to our next topic, what we are planning in Frankfurt with a special guest that David really brought into this game.
Mm-hmm. I can totally relate to what David said regarding people come to a networking event and they don't want to be sold something. Because people, when they go to a networking event, first of all, they want maybe to learn something new. They want to get to know each other better, understand better. They want to understand the markets better. That's not the point already to go into sales discussion. It's the point to really qualify. Is there a need? Is there a market for this? How can we develop that? So the sales will then be carried out in private later on once the interest has been qualified. And really, I commend you guys on having put up such a concept where you're adding value to the community without expecting an immediate return. So you are filling in the market with knowledge. You are filling in the market with customized. Yeah, it's really customized knowledge that you are bringing in, and get the people interested into this. And there can be really coming out a great opportunity for the future for you both. I didn't realize that's actually you both having this idea together. But makes total sense. Now, Norbert, let me continue then with you. So you have probably encouraged by the Zurich Dübendorf, says David, experience. You are encouraged now to continue in Frankfurt, and then there will be another one in Zurich. Let's talk Frankfurt first. So why Frankfurt, and what will you then now subtly bring into the Frankfurt edition?
Yeah, Frankfurt is, of course, the financial center of Germany and partially together with London of Europe. And
I thought it's because of the big airport.
Well, the big airport is actually, of course, important, but not that important for us because Frankfurt, like many other airports or cities, has their own smaller airport for private aviation, which is Frankfurt Egelsbach. And this Egelsbach airport is much more suitable because you are just walking through the tower, you are entering the airplane like a taxi, so you are really going from door to door within seconds almost, or less than 4 to 5 minutes. You are from the taxi in the airplane, and that's really the benefit that we can provide there, not waiting 2 hours before like at a big Frankfurt airport for your airliner. And many other airports are having these possibilities. And so we will be at Egelsbach Airport with our event in a nice restaurant there. And why Frankfurt as well is we wanted to gather really some people as well from the aviation broker side as well, because in the future our Jet Circle is not only marketed through me and through my organization. It will be marketed through those people that are in daily contact with the Jet users, and those are usually brokers. And we have developed now a program that benefits those brokers and benefits not only the final customer that is able to share flights and to fly any minute with such an airplane like ordering a taxi, but also to have this community approach where you are able to network between one company owner and the other. And so the target focus people are family office investors and company owners, and those we will be able to bring in Frankfurt to one place.
So, in a sense, now you're talking about the brokers also. So you're creating an ecosystem about the whole general aviation, and that includes using general aviation. It includes investing in general aviation, and it's the sales and marketing part through the brokers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the big change. In the beginning, the Jet Circle was started last October with clients of mine, people that I approached, and suddenly it got momentum. The first flights were happening. The first flights were really shared. So we had a flight, for example, to London, where one client was saying, okay, I want to fly with 4 people to London from Düsseldorf. And he put it on the platform, and already the next day, a guy from Bochum was saying, yes, I fly with it for 2 people, and they shared the cost 2/3, 1/3. So suddenly the flight was much cheaper for him, and both of them enjoyed the possibility. And the airplane, a 7-seat airplane, was really fully equipped with 6 people. And this is the principle behind it, that you have then those people, and how to access those people more. Well, all the brokers have the access to them. Many operators that are operating jets are having the access to them because partially they are either the owners or the users of the airplanes, but also limousine services or noble hotels and so on have the access to such people, and they are brought into this ecosystem now to be part of the Jet Circle, whereas the members of the Jet Circle will be always only the company owners, investors, and family office people.
David, isn't Norbert really a bright mind? I mean, he's now preparing a future vision of aerospace. He's now preparing all this networking, the ecosystem. So in the minute the e-flyers are available and CO2-free, emission-free flying, everything is ready to kick off and start off immediately, right?
That's the plan.
Almost. Almost. So that's a good segue, because when it comes to investments into electric, there's a little bit of a caveat because the infrastructure is not quite there yet. If you've got an electric aircraft that says it's going to be a pipistrel and you've got a very small range, how are you going to be charging it up every 5 minutes? Because it's got a small distance you can go to. And that's where the Aviation Investor Club comes in, is that we've actually got access potentially to people that can see that vision going forward. So Norbert has the stories, the context, the use cases of the people that are actually wanting to utilize this infrastructure. And then from my side, we have the people that have the capacity, the capital, and the long-term visions of how to implement those those solutions, because it's okay inventing something, but if you don't have a customer base waiting for it, it's a stupid, wasted investment. You're not going to get anything. Innovation just for the sake of innovation is not very, wise. And so that's where it comes to. So Norbert, as a person, he's a great, great mind. He's a great big business person of his own right. So I agree with that. But there is two parts to the coin. And so when it comes to like investing in aviation assets, like as airports, get the infrastructure there for the aviation charging points, it's not like you can go to a local supermarket and just charging your plane, because it doesn't happen that way. At most airports, they don't have those facilities at the moment on a large scale. So there has to be major investments to even get the infrastructure, in place. And it's not going to be equally all over Europe happening at the same time. There's going to be pockets where it's going to be well invested and well going, well infrastructure development, and other places where it's going to be lagging in a big way. So there's going to be dark black zones where you couldn't go to, even though you want to go there. So it's going to be a transition period. And that's why me and Norbert see together, we've got access to both sides of the coins. We know it's going to happen in the near future, that there's going to have to be this transition, but how to get there. And it's not about selling people. It's not about trying to get people, hey, please invest in my project, me and Norbert don't get anything out of these individual deals. We're bringing people together, and that's our value. Because now we're deal creators, and people hopefully will start involving us in more things as we go forward. But that's not our primary motive. But as you can see from the discussion, is that Norbert comes with the people that are using it as a use case, and from my side, it's the people that can actually, like the banking side, we can actually get that investment to actually make those dreams a reality. If that helped you with your understanding how the equation actually works.
Perfect. I have this three kinds of minds. The one is the brightest mind, which is Norbert. You are now the influential mind, in my view, because you can influence the investors community. And now we need the innovative mind. And that innovative mind is the one who brings us the infrastructure at the airports, right? But I'm sure with the speed you are creating this ecosystem, that will be a no-brainer and ready solved in the future as well. Yeah.
It's
okay. Let's.
If I can interrupt a little bit, it's because when we have these masterminds, because that's what they are, they're masterminds. There's actually a third mind that happens because of the group, and so what you've identified, it happens because of the group. Because it's not like we would have a traditional, somebody's making a PowerPoint presentation at the beginning, at the front of the room, and then the audience just sits there and listens and tries not to fall asleep. That's not what our groups, and that's not what they're about. That's not what our meetings, they've never been like that. Basically, we have a circle where everyone's involved. They can face each other, a little bit like an AA meeting. They all see each other in the eye and saying "my name is" and those sort of things. But it also goes a little bit of more involvement. Everybody that comes to our group events, basically, it's about participation. And we tell people at the beginning of the meeting, if by the end of the meeting, if you haven't got people to come up to you and that, it just means people weren't sold on what you want to do. So you have to give your best foot forward. What value are you bringing? The people that provide the most and give the most are the people that people want to be with. So they'll have a lot of people around them and wanting to have do business and talk to them. But if you're by yourself and you're like, well, what happened there? It means that maybe you need to develop and your skill set a little bit more. And that's where it comes to. It could be, I don't know Elon Musk personally, it could be that he's maybe really awkward to talk to in a group setting. He's got his fame and he's the richest man in the world sort of thing. But as a person, maybe he's really difficult to talk to. I have no idea. But in that sort of situation, he has to sell himself, in which case that's what our groups is what they're helping to do, is that, people that are high net worth and ultra high net worth, they don't have the time to, they've got their barriers and defenses up all the time. And that's what we're hoping to try and bring down, is that now they're talking with peers to actually, so they can get those ideas and juices and innovation going. And that third mind of being in the group, that's what's developed by a group, mastermind community.
And what is really interesting with those people, mostly they have already the mindset and they are starting a conversation, or very early in the conversation, are starting with, hey, how can I benefit you? Because they saw that this is a person, okay, that is on eye level and is not only willing to grab and take, but then the question, how can I help you, is giving a benefit, and then opens up the whole idea of the networking, and then each person is benefiting the other person with contacts, with the right people to talk to, or with the right approach, what is the other person is searching for at the moment.
What a wonderful mindset. Yes. How can I help you first, or how can I be of value to you, rather than saying, okay, this is the value I can provide you and this is the help I can give you. Go there open minded. Now, Frankfurt, one more time, David. Norbert gave me in the briefing a name, Daniel Berger. To my from the bottom of my heart, I don't know Daniel Berger, but he seems to be a key figure in your industry. And because your industry is listening, so tell us about Daniel Berger. How did you get him into this game, and what's so special about this authoritative figure?
Okay, so I'm not gonna, be surprised that you didn't know Daniel Berger's name. So basically, do you know somebody called Oren Klaff? He's wrote a lot of books. So in those books that he's written, it's been very it's about pitch. And how to give a pitch, that you want to do with, when you're making a pitch for a business or you want to try and get funding. He's made a book series about how to do those with making a pitch, right? And Daniel was actually the chief strategy officer for Oren Klaff. And so Daniel was the guy that was in the background. That the main face was Oren, and Oren by himself is an amazing, masterful, best of it, of his industry sort of mind. He's very innovative what he does. And in the background was Daniel, who's actually with it, he's German, from his background and those sort of things, and he's educated, and what he does, he's very, very determined, and he's by himself, he's made deals worth in excess of over, I understand the numbers, somewhat more than 900 million. At the moment, which is like a phenomenal, crazy amount. He's the director of several different types of funds and those sort of things going on. I'll let him obviously talk when people meet him in person in Frankfurt, what he does, because I don't want to steal his thunder. But as an individual,
for some reason, David's sound is away. Norbert, can you hear him?
Can you hear me? I don't hear Norbert.
Still hearing him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go on. I think my earphone is the battery's out.
Okay. Yeah. So, but with Daniel though doing the stuff, obviously, I'm a member of his courses because he's a trainer, or for salespeople and us as well. He's also got his own family office. He's a trainer for that, and he's trained over 3,000 people himself on how to do sales training and those sort of things. And so Daniel himself is a powerhouse. And by having him on our side is opened up a phenomenal amount. So I can't say enough about Daniel being involved in what we're doing. And I would say as part of my group, Daniel being like one of the first main members has helped drastically quite a lot, because he's helped with, giving me lots of a mind shift about how do I approach people, etc. How do I format the offerings that I've got? And also when we're meeting people, how to act in a specific way. So it's not like me being a little bit like, going in all of lots of different directions, going down different rabbit holes, but being very focused. Because when you get excited and you get passionate about a topic, it's very easy to do that. And so Daniel as a whole, he's the one that's, that I think that when people see him in person in Frankfurt, he's going to be giving a panel presentation also with some other guys that are doing private equity. I think some people already met Todd Weber when we was in Dubendorf, and he's got a private equity firm in America that's doing some pretty phenomenal stuff and how to get crazy amounts of returns. Obviously, we can't go into the details because I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to get into any rule breaking or anything like that, so we don't give any numbers or so. But the details on what they're doing is literally made for family offices and for people with large amounts of money for that retention of the capital for the long term. So this is and they're all off-market deals. And the same with my group is that I'm not part of all the deals that happen within my group. I intentionally make people or tell people that it's not about me. It's not a Dave show. Do your own stuff, and if I'm involved and I can add for value, then perfect. But it's not about you have to involve me in everything that you do. And as they're sort of discussing and doing the stuff themselves, then that's how deals and that are created. So the amount of value that we can bring to the group is phenomenal. I asked a couple of people in Dubendorf how much do they think the value of the room was, of the types of people in there. And conservative, we had from 200 million all the way up to 500 million within the room. And so the idea now from Frankfurt is that we want to eclipse that. And I think we've already done that with the type of people who are coming. So now we're actually doing a multiplier of what we did in Dubendorf. We're now in Frankfurt, so it'll be a lot better. So we're pushing ourselves. Me and Norbert are not sitting on our laurels. We're actually taking it to the next level.
Fantastic. So then greetings to Daniel at this stage, if he watches this, and great to meet you. So let's, we are coming slowly to the end of our live stream. For someone who's not flying private right now, why would the moment be now ideal to get involved?
Okay.
Well, if you want to fly in the future more privately and you want to step aside of the traffic jam and the queues at the airports, then, and you are a company owner or investor, then the Jet Circle is, of course, your place, because you can start really in this whole sector by flying on shared flights, flying on empty legs, and really get a feeling for it. So this is the right way to approach it right now, and this is what we open up with the Jet Circle. Nevertheless, the Jet Circle is really for company owners that are frequently flying. So if you are only there for one holiday trip, please, this is not the group for you.
Likewise, David, for your events, what kind of mindset would you like to see in your events? And
sure.
What kind of mindset may not be as useful to have on board?
Yeah. So I could also say from Norbert's side of things about, because not everybody that's a high net worth or sophisticated investor has actually flown private. It happens. They don't always do that because they want to try and regain or save monies and those sort of things. So, for example, I frequently fly with like EasyJet, Ryanair. I've flown British Airways. You know, it's whoever's available. I try and take that as the easiest alternative. So it's not about just only flying private. It's about having the best route, the best scenario that comes to those. However, there is those specific use cases of time, convenience, and safety, which private, you cannot beat it. And if those are the key criteria in your life that you want to have, then that's where you go to. It's a no-brainer, and it's not as expensive. It's about the same price as a business class ticket. It's not like crazy money that you're talking about. It's the same sort of price of that. So that's from the flying sort of side. When it comes to the investors that we would, or the type of people would like to come to the Aviation Investor Club, there are a couple of criteria. When everybody wants to come, we try and keep to maintain the level of the standard. So when you join, or when you want to join, because it's based on whether we accept or not, it's not like just pay your money, you're in. It doesn't work that way. So basically, it's whether you're an accredited investor. That's very important because we want to maintain that actually you've already got something. You're not just trying to just get in, just want to try and get something immediately. Ultra high net worth is also you have to have a self-declaration for that. And then once you're in the club, there's going to be like a trial period that if you immediately, your first message is, hey, give me some money, I need to get this as my first deal, then that's not really the types of people we want to have in the group either. It's a very sort of low-key, light touch group where it's not going to be like spamming everybody and being annoying to everybody, because they're giving you their personal telephone numbers. And that's not what you want to do, because it will turn everyone else away. So we're looking for people that are very professional. They understand what they want to do. It's all about, they're trying to put their best foot forward. And so the types of people we don't want are the people there that are just basically, they're trying to get to their first deal. They're just trying to raise money by hook or by crook, whichever method they can do. That's not for us. We're looking for that more established, family office mentality or ultra high net worth mentality, that they've got what they want to do and they want to retain. They want to have all the options available to them. They want to get advisors that can actually advise them on different options in a secure environment. And that's where we want to go, rather than people trying to abuse their opinions and trying to put their own agendas on top of theirs. Because everybody in the group, I would say, Norbert's met a lot of them, they're all quite alpha males. There's not so many females at the moment, but I'm pretty sure there could be some in the future. But at the moment, they're quite alpha males. So they're all quite determined. They're all very wealthy and successful in their own right. So they don't want to be told what to do. That would turn them off immediately. So as long as people are given their space to develop, that's perfect. So we don't want people there to, hey, I know better. That doesn't work. So, but obviously, when you come to our events, you'll see you'll fit in quite nicely for doing those. Our events are not just buy a ticket, you'll get accepted. we do a little bit of a filtering and vetting, that if you come to the event, we make sure that you're that right type of person. Me and Norbert have had a little bit of a discussion about what's the right and what's the definition of right for those sort of things. But when we go through, we see, like, obviously, does the person, have they been putting like lots of rubbish on their profiles? Have they, what sort of thing, what's their agenda of coming to the events? Are they likely to be in line with the other attendees, or are they likely to go a little bit different and maybe cause a disruption, etc.? And we're doing that using our own networks and that's wherever to go to. So it's not like people just come to our events and that's it. We are a little bit exclusive and vet people in a sense. That may turn some people off. That's just the way it happens. But also it may attract other people that know that we're not just attracting everybody. Like in the Aviation Investor Club, I never see it being more than, say, 100 people. Because that's just not what our market is. There's not be thousands and thousands of people there. Literally, it's a close-knit group of people that act as a mastermind. Whereas from Norbert's side, obviously it's going to be a larger group. So how we bring those together, that's the sort of thing we're working on, and it seems to work out quite nicely.
Okay. So my last question now to Norbert and David. So when you are expanding your networks, do you collaborate, or do you expand each one on your own, your networks?
Well, obviously we are collaborating with the events, but of course everybody has a little bit different target group, and therefore we both also elaborate and develop the groups on our own. So there are certain points of intersection, which we already mentioned plentiful today, but of course just normal charter operator that charter client that has built up his own company and is flying 4 or 5 times might not qualify as a sophisticated investor yet, and that's the difference between the two of our clubs. So yeah, David, what would you say?
Yeah, I think obviously we're growing different at different sort of levels. So to iterate what Norbert was saying, which is absolutely correct. But for example, the reason why we have those sort of limitations that maybe people need to be sophisticated investors is because some private placement or some types of investment vehicles are not intended or can be marketed to everybody. It's just a limitation, like to follow SEC, FCA rules, etc. So they have to make sure. So as we've got people in the group that are potentially, they're ultra high net worths, that sophisticated investors, they know what they're doing. Obviously, they talk at a different level. They talk of a different way that they expect other people they're talking to also understand that. And so by having a vetted sort of process that they can actually talk to them, to those other people in confidence, that's the gateway. So we're like the gatekeepers to make it easier for fluid discussion. And from Norbert's side of things, obviously he's like a gatekeeper for his community, because you don't want somebody going onto his flights that's like a TikToker that's going there and just taking photos and being annoying and on the telephone and just basically being a bit disturbing, when his community is about shared flights, high net worths, that there are business people that are doing it for work, rather than being it as an entertainment sort of thing and joking around. That can be for other brokers, but from Norbert's side, it's a more professional group. It's a more professional community that he's growing, that they can actually do the networking on the plane, rather than trying to do some social media, TikToking or trying to get my likes, etc. So we do have similarities and separate things, but in a way we are going forward in the same way without overlapping or competing at all.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We have quite a large number of registered participants, and we have a large number of viewers, but our comments and question sections remained rather unfilled. And now what you are saying makes total sense also in the kind of engagement here on LinkedIn. So all our quiet viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this. We couldn't get a comment or a question from you guys, but we are seeing that many of you are here, and I hope you could take a lot from what we have discussed so far. If you have any questions to Norbert or to David, both are on LinkedIn. Just drop them a note and get your private discussions with them going on. I thank you, Norbert, for initiating this discussion. And for initiating also the events together with David. And David, thanks for being part of our show. It was really a pleasure to host this session.
Thank you very much, Ilkay. Much appreciated. Thank you very much, Norbert.
Thank you, Ilkay.
Norbert, do you want to direct something to the community as a last word?
Well, thank you for joining today, and let's stay in touch. And yeah, happy to be more with you, Ilkay, in such events. Let's get some more such LinkedIn Lives working out in the future for us.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye. So
Bye.
there will be an outro right now, and then we'll talk to you again. That was the wrong format.
Sie wissen, wie wichtig Sichtbarkeit in der heutigen Unternehmenswelt ist. Sie wollen die wichtigste Business-Plattform der Welt optimal nutzen, um sich nachhaltig und gewinnbringend mit zukünftigen Kunden und Mitarbeitenden auszutauschen? Dann ergreifen Sie jetzt Ihre Chance und werden Sie in den professionellen sozialen Medien sichtbar. Mit Thought Leadership lernen Sie das richtige Vorgehen kennen, um ein Thema adäquat zu besetzen. So entwickeln Sie sich zum überzeugenden und authentischen Meinungsmacher. Mit unserem Corporate Social Performance Programm coachen wir UnternehmerInnen, C-Levels, Fach- und Führungskräfte, die als Corporate InfluencerInnen für ihr Unternehmen auftreten, im zielgerichteten Umgang mit Thought Leadership. Im The Social Leadership Quadrant stellen wir mit einem ganzheitlichen Framework sicher, dass das gesamte Unternehmen optimal in den professionellen sozialen Medien, allen voran LinkedIn, aufgestellt ist. Haben wir Ihre Neugier geweckt? Der Social CEO beantwortet gerne all Ihre Fragen.